बलोच किस्मर्ची मुकद्दर आजादी बलोच मुकद्दर आजाद बलोचिस्तान बलोचिस्तान क्या इस तरह ईरान पाकिस्तान कब्जे बलोच क्या बलोची ब्रावी जमाना गपजन बलोच किसने आया दुनिया बनाए किसने डगारे इधर वाहुतिक इधर किसने
On the 18th of March 2014, the man you just heard giving a clarion call for an independent Balochistan was detained in Quetta by Pakistani authorities. His name, Zahid Baloch, who's among more than 3,400 people documented missing since 2005 in Pakistan's biggest province.
जाहिद को वो गाड़ी से निकाल रहे हैं उस छोटे से गाड़ी में और एक ब्लैक कलर का सर्फ गाड़ी था तो जाहिद के हाथ पीछे से बांध दिए थे उसकी आंखों पे पट्टियां बांध दी थी और उसको खुद ही उठा के गाड़ी में फेंक दिया और सारे लोगों को वो धमकियां दे रहे थे बच्चों तक को धमकियां दे रहे थे कि आप लोग चले जाओ उसके बाद वो उसको लेके चले गए.
To this day, Zahid's fate remains unknown. Much like the fate of thousands of others who the Pakistani state has been accused of ruthlessly silencing for raising their voice against what has been described as brutal occupation. In May 2009, another activist, Agha Abid Shah Baloch, dared to speak out as he'd done several times before.
Through this platform, we would like to tell the enemy that we'll never quit the movement of Free Balochistan. By your oppression, by gifting us the mutilated body of our leaders, colleagues and family members, we'll never stop. Our struggle is for the freedom of Baloch land of Balochistan.
Barely 2 years later, Agha Abid Shah Baloch was found dead in a ditch in his town of Panjgur. His body was found mutilated and decomposed, much like the leaders of the Baloch resistance he had named in his speech. Zahid Baloch missing. Agha Abid Shah Baloch found dead. Kambar Chakar tortured and killed. Dr. Deen Mohammad Baloch missing, and the list goes on.
This has been a very old Pakistani military strategy, and they've done this before. In 1971, the Pakistani military carried out a genocide in what is today Bangladesh. They killed 3 million people in a matter of 10 months. But before they were defeated and they could get away by the Indian army, they collected all the professors, all the doctors, all the poets, all the writers, collected them at one place and slaughtered them. They are doing the same thing today in Balochistan.
The genocide in East Pakistan is often invoked by Baloch activists to draw attention to their plight. However, in the case of Balochistan, or formerly the independent princely state of Kalat, the circumstances around how it became a part of Pakistan in 1948 have also been a cause for resentment among many.
Finally, Pakistan accepted the independence and sovereignty of Kalat, and it was signed, and we still have those press communes that Mr. Jinnah gave. From then till March 48, there was a lot of things that happened, and in which also the British had a role. They also gave the green signal to Jinnah to invade Kalat. And there were some of our own mischievous chiefs and others who had a role in it. Of course, without the role of insiders, outsider cannot do anything.
Interestingly, the man who drafted the Khan's memorandums relating to independence in 1946 was his then lawyer, Muhammad Ali Jinnah, who would, as Governor-General of Pakistan, go on to sign the very accession document that would make the state of Kalat a part of his new country in 1948.
Lasbela, Karan and Makran, which were semi-autonomous feudal districts of the Khanate, had decided, and their rulers did, to go along and accede to the Union of Pakistan, the new Dominion. Kalat held out by being non-committal about it. But these three guys were for joining, and indeed they joined formally Pakistan on 17th March 48.
They also created in March, on March 13th, 3 states which never existed before, which is Haran, Lasbela and Makran. It was an annexation by force, because when they created these 3 states, they moved their armies there. You understand, Makran and Bela, and they moved their forces on the side of Sindh and also Arand and Dajal. They moved their forces. So Kalat was in the middle, basically. So with a barrel of a gun, they had my grandfather signed, and still, whatever they even he had them signed was never implemented.
Since then, there have been 5 phases of insurgency in Balochistan. This included a brutal crackdown in 1973 by Zulfikar Ali Bhutto after he dismissed the first elected government in the province.
It was a Pakistan which was under Zulfikar Ali Bhutto in tatters after the debacle of 71. And it was a Zulfikar Ali Bhutto who was hell-bent, as he put it, on saying that I'm not going to have the Baluchis, quote, do a Bengal on me.
The people of Balochistan, however, haven't given in. But the tales of disappearances, illegal detentions and extrajudicial killings have only grown. We receive testimonies from victims of torture now living in exile, including a student and a doctor. They spoke only on the condition that their identities are withheld.
When I was arrested and taken to the camp, as soon as we reached, 7 to 8 people started beating us without asking any questions. My clothes were taken off and petrol was put on me. I kept going round in circles and my skin kept peeling off. There used to be different kind of torture techniques.
जो तस्वीर दिखा रहे थे, इधर एक चीज़ मैंने और देखी, वो करंट वाली मशीन जिससे वो इलेक्ट्रिक करंट लगाते थे, वो ज़ाहिर है अभी मेरी आंखें नहीं बंदी हुई थी, खुली थी, तो वो इधर साथ जो बैठा हुआ था वो जिस तस्वीर का पूछ रहा था, अगर आपको आता नहीं होता तो वो इधर आपके थाई पे से इस तरह की आवाज़ आती थी. मैंने देखा छोटी सी मशीन है, उसने कहा भी ये इतने वोल्ट पर है. तो इसी तरह वो टार्चर पर उन्होंने ये मशीन बहुत से ऐसी जगहों पर लगाया. किसी जगह का आप नाम ले सकते हैं, किसी जगह का नहीं. मतलब इलेक्ट्रिक करंट ऐसा तक देते थे, कभी कभी मुझे शायद मैं बेहोश हो जाता था. जब मुझे दोबारा होश आ जाती थी, मैं तो देखता मैं दूसरी जगह पे हूँ, शायद मुझे उठा कर ले गए होंगे.
The reason for such apprehension is real. Karima Baloch, chairperson of the BSO, who now lives in Toronto, Canada, when in Pakistan, she addressed rallies in multiple cities raising awareness.
Today we need a mass mobilization. Our mothers and sisters should teach our upcoming generation the lesson of freedom. Our brothers should debate on Baloch issues in their daily life, should debate on Baloch freedom fighters and think carefully what makes our fighters to live in mountains. Their aim is not self-determination, nor provincial autonomy, nor the privileges. That aim is the independence of Balochistan, the complete independence of Balochistan.
But to raise your voice in Balochistan is to invite serious threat and intimidation by the powers that be.
काफ़ी दफ़ा मेरे घर पर मार्टर शेलों से हमले किए, रॉकेट लॉन्चर से हमले किए एफसी ने. और एक दफ़ा मैं घर पे नहीं थी तो उस एक दिन दोपहर के वक्त वो आए थे और पूरे हमारे जो हमारा घर है उसको घेरे में लेकर बेतहाशा फायरिंग कॉल दी थी घर पर और मेरी जो बहनें थी छोटी वो वहाँ पे मौजूद थी लेकिन वो बच गई.
As we sought accounts from aggrieved families in Balochistan, the most harrowing of them all was the case of D.
My brothers were killed around 10 a.m. that morning. And then the army said they killed them because they were attacked. My brothers were innocents. After hearing the news, I went to the army camp and asked them where my brothers were. Forget your brothers now on, they told me. Then they showed me the dead bodies of my brothers, all piled up on one another in a trunk of a pickup car.
State institutions have done little to ensure accountability. The country's Supreme Court in 2010 established a commission of inquiry to look into cases of enforced disappearances. Activists say even the courts haven't delivered.
कोर्ट तो कुछ भी नहीं कर पाता बलूचिस्तान में सबसे बड़ी बात यह है कि एक हाई कोर्ट है क्वेटा में उसमें जितने लॉयर्स अपने सारे इकोनॉमिकल केस छोड़ के मिसिंग पर्सन्स के केसेस को फॉलो अप कर रहे थे जितना कुछ वो कर पा रहे थे उनका तो 70 का बैच एक साथ एक ही अटैक में मार दिया गया अगस्त 2016 में उसके बाद तो लॉयर्स भी नहीं है जो लॉयर ये केसेस उठाते थे वो भी मारे गए.
It's a struggle for cases, let alone reach the courts, but for complaints to even be registered at police stations for a case of someone going missing to be followed up.
People are threatened that do not file FIRs against agencies and army and those security forces who abduct their loved ones. So because of those regular threats, and then these threats are basically followed practically as well. If one registers an FIR, then he or she or his family will be picked up, tortured and killed.
Even an incident captured on camera in 2015 has little chance of ensuring justice. The man in the video, Shahjahan, we are told, has not been seen since. This 25-year-old from the Kech district and Dasht Tehsil in Balochistan is yet to be traced after being seen alongside Pakistan security personnel asked to load a body in a truck. Videos depicting alleged human rights violations in Balochistan are routinely uploaded on the social media, including videos of houses burned, allegedly by Pakistan forces. On the 24th of Jan 2014, 3 mass graves were found in the Khuzdar area of Balochistan. The official count was 17 bodies, but activists claim that at least 160-odd bodies were found in graves in and around the area. Their calls for a DNA test were turned down. And while a committee was formed to find out what happened and who was responsible, the security personnel were given a clean chit.
When such reports came out, we tried to go there. Our friends and well-wishers tried to go there, but the government forces restrained us. Later, the families of the missing persons also tried to go there, but they were stopped too. Media persons and political leaders weren't allowed either. When the bodies were being recovered, only the government forces and government machinery was present. The situation here is that when human rights activists or political workers raise the slogans about missing persons, either they go missing themselves or their dead bodies are found.
Part of the reason why Balochistan has remained off the radar of the global media is because of the risks involved in covering the region. In May 2006, Carlotta Gall of the New York Times was beaten up by Pakistan security personnel, and her cameraman was held in detention for a day in Quetta when they were on assignment doing a story on the Afghan Taliban.
In December 2006, and I was reporting on Afghan Taliban, who, as we all know now, were very much ensconced in Quetta and running their insurgency from there. And so I went round finding families who were involved, families of suicide bombers, families of Taliban members who were living in Quetta. And after several days reporting, we were followed, and then my photographer was arrested, and my hotel was broken into while I was in my room, and they seized all our belongings. They took everything, and notebooks, cameras, computer, copied our whole hard drives, and questioned us and said really we weren't allowed to be in the city interviewing Taliban. And that was what we were told. So it was not directly connected to the Baluch insurgency, but it was a clear message. And I was actually struck. I was hit in the face, punched by one of the goons who came into my room, and it was clearly a message of intimidation to say, don't come here reporting. And after that, we had sort of quite clear messages. All the local reporters were called in by the local security services and told not to work with foreign journalists.
And this is part of the reason Balochistan is such an underreported conflict when compared to Chechnya or Palestine.
I reported the first war in Chechnya, and it was the Yeltsin years. We could go freely. You could fly down, catch taxi straight into Grozny. So the access is very critical in reporting a war. And the access in Balochistan is very, very low. Another thing to mention is diplomats are extremely constrained from going there and finding out things. Even the diplomats who work in Pakistan, they can't travel there without permission. And also aid workers. A lot of NGOs have tried to work in Balochistan. Some do, but with great difficulty. They're very restricted. I think there's been a very, very clever and very strict control of any information coming out of Balochistan.
जो लोग आर्म स्ट्रगल करते हैं वो अपनी खुशी से आर्म स्ट्रगल नहीं कर रहे हैं.
They will have to respect our sovereignty. Balochistan is too big a cake. They will not be allowed to eat it.
Let's be very clear on some facts. Barriers are there which are unfair, and barriers which are there which are unfair should be broken. And if they have not been broken till now, that is the tragedy of our times, because there is nothing in the rules which allows these barriers to exist. I don't trust politicians. Politicians need to go through a litmus test. This is about implementing the constitution that we gave ourselves. When will you, the politicians of this country, have the guts to do to the people of this country what they deserve? Take a position on it tonight. Don't dodge tonight. I think we should celebrate tonight. Through these symbolic protests in Sabarimala, Haji Ali, Shani Shignapur temple, the women of this country from all religions are saying we are equal members of the Republic. I think what you're beginning to say is beginning to embarrass me. You say there is some radiation in the rock. I mean, what are you talking about? I'm letting you reveal, don't mind your insecurities. Watch today, Hindu and Muslim.
Pakistan's strategy in tackling questions over Balochistan has been masking its belligerence against the people of Balochistan, with deniability outside and brazenly so.
Well, you see, during the tenure of General Pervez Musharraf, when Nawab Akbar Bugti was killed, and subsequently Balach Murray, son of Nawab Khairbakhsh Murray, this led to a certain amount of difficulty and tension. But all of that is well in the past, and as I said, the situation in Balochistan is reasonably normal.
On the day of this comment, Brahmdag Bugti, now living in exile in Switzerland, made his intentions clear. He was applying for asylum to India and was prepared to take Pakistan's army generals to court, including Pervez Musharraf, during whose tenure his grandfather, Nawab Akbar Bugti, an icon for Baloch nationalists, was assassinated.
All Pakistani generals जो कि साबका हैं और मौजूदा हैं जो बलूचिस्तान में ह्यूमन राइट वायलेशंस में इन्वॉल्व रहे हैं उन सब के खिलाफ हमारे जो जितने बीआरपी के चैप्टर्स हैं इंटरनेशनली लंदन जर्मनी नॉर्वे स्वीडन फ्रांस एंड स्विट्जरलैंड यहाँ पर हम उनके खिलाफ केसेस रजिस्टर करेंगे.
What the Baloch see as occupation on the part of Pakistan is not one in the context of human rights violations alone.
The Pakistanis have done what most colonial countries never did, which is the annihilation of the local language. The Portuguese were in India, the Danes, the Dutch were in India, the British, the French were in India. Nobody wiped out the native language. What the Pakistanis have done is imposed Urdu on top of the Baloch people.
And mostly Baloch get the very small share in non-skilled labor. You understand? They don't even get a share, and because the Baloch are not thought to be citizens. You understand? They are fourth grade.
As China tries to expand its foothold in Balochistan, in Gwadar and other areas through the $46 billion China-Pakistan economic corridor, the stories we heard of the people here were as distressing as the areas further east.
Pakistani army burnt my house. When the army came to our house, they pointed their rifles towards us and asked us to take out our mobile phones. They took our mobile phones, cash and the jewelry. My mother is an old woman. They started beating her, using the back of their rifles. They threatened to abduct us. They said they have the orders to abduct us. What had we done? We can bear anything, but we want our rights, and that is freedom. They should give us freedom.
As long as there remains a state of oppression in Balochistan, the likes of Taj Baloch, of the HRCB, Faiz Baloch, who runs the International Voice for Baloch Missing, and Wendelin Johnson, each of whom created databases to record disappearances and killings in Balochistan, will continue to quantify its extent before the world. But if there are human rights activists on the one hand, there are also those who have taken up arms against the state of Pakistan in Balochistan, and they have sympathy.
This war has been imposed on the Baloch people. The Pakistanis have occupied the Baloch land. The Baloch have never taken anybody else's land. They are fighting. They are resisting what the Pakistani states. I think if you compare the Baloch with the Kurds that are fighting ISIS in Middle East, over here the Baloch are fighting the world's longest living ISIS, that is the terrorist state of Pakistan.
जो लोग आर्म स्ट्रगल करते हैं वो अपनी खुशी से आर्म स्ट्रगल नहीं कर रहे हैं, उनको पाकिस्तानी आर्मी ने ही मजबूर किया है, क्योंकि वो जब जेट तैयारे लेकर आते हैं, मिसाइल बम्बारमेंट करते हैं, तो उस पे बलूच अपनी दिफा के लिए लड़ रहे हैं.
They will have to respect our sovereignty. They will. My request to them is Balochistan is too big a cake. They
they will not be allowed to eat it. They must understand this. What is happening in Balochistan, people are increasingly on our side. India has, again, my thanks to Sri Narendra Modi supporting us. Hamid Karzai, the former president of Afghanistan, has supported this. The Hasina Wajid government in Bangladesh.
On the 15th of August 2016, the Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi, referred to Balochistan from the ramparts of the Red Fort. The first time any Indian Prime Minister had done so in history.
बलूचिस्तान के लोगों ने, गिलगिट के लोगों ने, पाक ऑक्युपाइड कश्मीर के लोगों ने, वहां के नागरिकों ने जिस प्रकार से मुझे बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद दिया है, जिस प्रकार से मेरा आभार व्यक्त किया है, लेकिन ऐसे दूर सुदूर बैठे हुए लोग हिंदुस्तान के एक प्रधानमंत्री को अभिनंदन करते हैं, उसका आदर करते हैं, तो मेरे 125 करोड़ देशवासियों का आनंद है, वो मेरे 125 करोड़ देशवासियों का सम्मान है.
The best way for the Balochistan independence movement or the movement to end Pakistan's occupation of Balochistan will come on the international stage is when Prime Minister Narendra Modi takes it to the United Nations and from the General Assembly utters the word Balochistan. The mere mention of the word Balochistan will put it on the international framework.
Will Balochistan be free? How realistic a possibility it is in our lifetime is a matter left to speculation. But the stories of oppression, of displacement, of torture, of kidnappings are following a dangerous pattern. One that Pakistan adopted in 1970 against its eastern wing, resulting in the creation of another nation. As for the graves the Pakistani authorities are believed to have left behind, they will call out to them.
मैंने सुना है तुम 60 कब्रें भी पार कर चुके हो और मैं अभी तक तीसरे कब्र तक नहीं पहुंच पाया. पहली कब्र जब मैंने पार की तो एक आवाज़ आई, किसी ने पूछा कहाँ जा रहे हो, और मैं सोचने लगा कि मैं कहाँ जा रहा हूँ. फिर से उसने पूछा तुम्हें पता है मैं कौन हूँ, और मैं सोचने लगा अब उसको क्या कहना है कि ये है कौन. तो उसने कहा जब तुम निकल ही पड़े हो तो रास्ते में शायद अंधेरा हो और तुम्हें रोशनी की ज़रूरत हो तो मेरा फ़ोन ही जला दीजिएगा. और उसके बाद मैं इतना गूंगा रहा कि खुद से भी न बोल पाया और मैं पहली कब्र के बाद और दूसरी कब्र से पहले खुद में दफन हो गया.